Hey everybody, it's Susan with Susan Monroe Art, and it has been a hot minute since I posted a video, and life has just gotten in the way, but I haven't forgotten my YouTube channel, and I'm posting something new today on how to paint brick. I've been painting lots and lots of house portraits lately, lots of architectural pieces, which is great because you get paid for those. Yay, pay. So anyway, I wanted to show you how to do that. And also I want to give a big shout out and thank you to everybody who has subscribed to my channel. It really means a lot to me and I appreciate it so much. If you're interested in getting more tutorials and learning more about watercolor painting, just click the little red subscribe button that's down in the corner of this, and then click on the bell and you'll be notified whenever I put up a new video. As for that, let's go ahead and get to work. So before I begin, as always, I want to make sure I have all my supplies ready. I've got my palette here. I think the colors I'm going to use will be mostly Indian red, yellow ochre, a little French ultramarine blue, or maybe some burnt sienna for my brick colors. I'm going to have my brushes available, and for this, y'all, I got some great new brushes. I splurged. I'll have to do a tutorial on these or a little video. I splurged and got these Da Vinci Maestro brushes. They're brand new. I'm totally in love. But to paint brick, you'll need, generally I use a brush with a bigger head. This is a number 5. You could use up to a number 10, whatever you want. Then I also use a smaller flathead brush, which it's very small. I can use to make the brick shapes. All right, so I've got my brushes, I've got my palette. I'm going to want a ruler of some kind and a pencil. My paper is 140-pound Arches cold pressed paper. Here we go. And the watercolors I'm using are Winsor and Newton. That's what I'm used to using. There are plenty of great watercolor brands out there though. And I also have a nice big thing of clean water and some paper towels because I'm constantly blotting my brush as I paint. Now that I've gotten all my supplies together, I'm gonna take a look at some pictures of brick. Of course, if I'm painting a particular house, I'm gonna check out the brick on that particular house. Here you've got some variegated brick on this one. This house that I'm painting right now is a very pale yellow brick. And just for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to Google several types of brick house. Here's my favorite brick house by the Commodores. But we will go also to some images, and you can just see the many different types and shades of brick that are around. So when you paint something in brick, the first thing you have to do is really, on that house, check out the colors of the brick. Check out the way it's laid. Check out all the details you can find on it. You don't necessarily have to paint every single brick in a wall as you're painting, but I tend to paint fairly detailed brick. I think it gives character to the house. It makes it look more realistic. And that's the style I'm going to show to you. First thing I'm going to do, say I'm painting the brick in this house. So I'd say the main colors in this are my Indian red, probably, as I mentioned before, a touch of ultramarine blue to get that darker color in here, and maybe some burnt sienna. And also, I want to look at the color that's between the bricks, the color of the mortar, because that's the color that's going in first. This is a very pale mortar. I tend to use a yellow ochre or a very, very pale Indian red for that. All right, so let me mix those colors up. Now that I've mixed my colors, I'm going to put in my background color for the brick, which will be, if it's a light colored mortar, that'll generally be the color I'll start with. As I mentioned, this is a pale mortar. Brick has a lot of yellow ochre colors in it. So I'm going to start this background of this brick, I think with my very pale yellow ochre, I'm putting a lot of water in it. And now I'm just gonna put in that wash. So there's the base for that brick. But say I'm painting a brick that has a very dark mortar. I have a different technique for doing that, which I'll show you. In that case, I would go ahead and put in the darker colors of the brick and variegate it. So say I'm putting in something with a dark mortar. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and put my general brick color, not my mortar color, my brick color in. So let's do that on this side. Notice I'm just letting my colors sort of run together. Ooh, that's dark. Okay. A general brickish color is what we have there. I'm going to let these dry, and then I'll show you the next step. Now I'm going to draw in some faint lines as my guide for the brick courses. The lines of the brick are the courses. And you assume every brick is rectangular going left to right, but once you start looking a lot of the time under windows, bricks are showing with their end pieces. Some houses have a variation between showing the end of the brick and the side of the brick, so you'll have square and long. And things like that can make a difference in really getting the character of a building. But to start, I will generally just draw some straight lines to make sure that my bricks don't start running uphill or downhill, as the case may be. And you know what? I'm going to pretend there's a window here. I'm going to draw a quick window so I can draw the course that is usually under a window. There we go. I'm going to show under here how the brick course under a window usually goes. I'm going to do the same thing over here now. Just drawing some straight lines to make sure my brick courses are straight when I paint them in. I've made these a little darker than I normally would, just so you can see them on the video. Now comes the fun part of painting the brick. I'm going to get my little square brush that I love. What is this? This is a Princeton art brush. It's old. It has been through the ringer, but it works really well for this. And say I'm painting this brick. Lots of different color bricks, light bricks, dark bricks. I'm going to have my colors once again mixed and ready to go. I'm going to take my brush and with the edge, gently run along. Just a little dot dash type of motion. Now it's important to note bricks are set in an offset pattern. Let me show you what I mean. If you do bricks like this in a house, say, this is not how bricks are set up. You don't have the mortar between bricks stacked one on top of another. It wouldn't make the wall very steady, and it'll look wrong in your painting unless a house has its bricks done in this specific pattern. Don't do this. Bricks generally are offset in that here's my course of bricks. Now the next bricks, the end of each brick below will come in the middle of the brick above, if that makes sense. Okay? So that's how I'm going to do this up here. I made these a little short. I'm going to try and make them a little longer here. Okay, so you can see how I'm offsetting the pattern. And as I dip my brush in, I'm going to go into the blue. Now I'm going to go into what was my yellow ochre. It's gotten sort of dirty. Get some more yellow ochre up here. I'm going into my burnt sienna, and I'm just switching up the colors of the bricks as I paint them to give the impression that house has of variegated colors of bricks. Oops. And you do have some leeway on lengths of your bricks, that type of thing, and you know. We are going for the overall impression. Oops, look what I did. All right, down under the window, I was going to show you the course, how I do window courses. So that would be the end of your brick. The square end of your brick shows generally under a window, and that makes the ledge just a little ledge like this. Okay, then I'm going to come along. This is the rest of the wall. Okay, now sometimes just to soften an area, I'll take my brush and I'll just put a light wash of water. It gives some interest. It softens the mortar sometimes. It really does look nice. Frequently when you have a finished brick structure, if you feel like you've softened it too much and washed away too much of the mortar, I mean, I've washed away a fair amount of the brick right here. You can come back in after it's dry and strengthen that area, repaint the bricks right there. Okay, so this is a house with light mortar between each brick. This house, though, we're pretending it has dark mortar between the bricks. With that, I forgot to mention this other tool at the beginning. I'm going to use my ink pen, right? And I'm going to mix up a nice dark color. Generally, I like to use ultramarine blue and burnt sienna together. All right, I'm only going to work up a little puddle. I'm sorry, there's so much noise in the background. Someone is chewing up a stump beside my house, just as I've decided to do this. I'm going to fill my brush with that, and then to load my ink pen, I'm just going to wipe it across. I don't know if you can see, I've got the ink in my brush now. Generally, I'll take a practice stroke on a piece of scrap paper. See, there we go. Just to make sure that a big drop isn't coming out or something. Now I'm going to run along here, generally with my ruler, to make sure my courses are very straight. Actually, let me show you. I have a ruler I really like for doing this. This ruler, I mean, it'd be great if it was see-through, but it's not. But it has some foam on the bottom that raises it up. That way the ink isn't running underneath my ruler and smearing. Okay, so you can get them, they'll have cork on the back or a little piece of rubber. That's generally the ruler I use for this work. Okay, I'll put links underneath for these things. All right. Here are my dark mortar lines. This may seem tedious, but it will go pretty quickly. And anyway, you know, it's important to enjoy the process of painting. I get totally lost in doing something like this, so it really isn't very tedious to me. It's just sort of zen. All right, so I'm drawing all my horizontal courses, making sure they're staying in line with my guidelines that I drew in with my pencil so my bricks don't run uphill or downhill. Okay, I've put in my horizontal lines. Now I'm going to put in my vertical mortar lines. Again, I'm going to offset them. Make sure they go straight up and down. Sometimes you'll get going at an angle, and that's not cool. It looks funny. Okay, now I'm going to let that dry. Now that it's dry, I'm going to come in afterwards and add some variation to those bricks. Some of my yellow ochre. So I'm glazing over the color that's already there. Be careful when you're doing this that you don't put a wet brick next to a wet brick. You know, notice I'm skipping around. If I do that, then the colors will just run into each other, and I'm really trying to individualize each brick, make it random, make it appear like a random pattern. I hope that makes sense. And occasionally you'll run into houses that even have some sort of white colored bricks thrown in with this variegated pattern. If that's the case, it is okay to use a little sort of white watercolor. I have this liquid white watercolor that I love. Look, Ecoline liquid watercolor. I'll get a little of this on my brush, and then I can sort of suggest a light brick in here. I just use this white watercolor for random white bricks, not for, say there's a white brick house, I would paint the whole background whatever color, the main color of the brick, and then come in and put the dark lines in on top of that. Okay, now I'm going to come back to this. This brick, you'll see, looks much more precise because I did it with a ruler. This is much more freehand. I made these bricks a little larger. Of course, you'll have to look at the house you're painting and determine what size brick goes with the scale of the house you're painting. I mean, if you draw the bricks too big, it looks like your house is made out of cinder blocks or something, and that's probably not the look you're going for. I'm just going in and reinforcing some of these bricks that were in the areas that I softened. So in these examples, I really showed pretty much every brick. Sometimes I'll do a house and I'll only give a suggestion of the bricks. This house is made of a really light brick. This picture looks funny because I had to piece it together from several different photos. Maybe a little bit of a dark mortar. I think what I'm going to do though is go in and just suggest the bricks in this, because to me the dark mortar in this is not a really outstanding feature. It's gonna, I don't know, I feel like the overall color of the brick is stronger than the color of the mortar, so I'm going to let that dominate my color scheme. And I think I'm just going to suggest the bricks. And I'm going to mix up for this mainly a yellow ochre based brick color. I don't want it to be too strong. I think I'm going to put some raw umber in with that as well. Okay, I'm going to test it out on my piece of scrap paper and then get to work. I'm randomly putting a suggestion of bricks in different places on the surface of this building. I think these bricks are too big. So I'm going to wash them out with a little water. And blot it with my paper towel. And let that dry, then I'll come back up there again and do some more bricks. So I'm using more of the side of my brush to make my bricks now rather than the face. It'll make them skinnier, and I can make them look smaller then. And there you go. So you can see it really goes pretty quickly. I know that I sped that up, but really your brush just sort of skips across the surface. I think with practice, it comes more quickly. So I hope that this has helped some of you. If you want to paint homes or do architectural paintings, to see a couple of different ways to do bricks, sort of the suggested way, just with an idea of the bricks, goes really quickly. A more loose but still fairly precise way of doing the bricks, and then a really precise, more tight way of doing brickwork. And I just wish you luck on all your painting. If you would like to follow me on Instagram, I'm under Susan Monroe Art, all one word, and I post almost every day. Like I said, I've been doing a lot of architectural paintings, a lot of house paintings, and you'll see a lot of those up there right now. And I hope that you have enjoyed this video and that you'll subscribe and that you'll paint lots of beautiful things. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.